Welcome to West Coast Women Rising. I'm Jade Flizanes, your host today. And today with me, I have Olivia King. Olivia and I have met each other several times at the local Ventura County Business Women's meetings. And she is a great speaker. And I'm looking forward to talking with her today and learning more about her business. So, welcome to the show, Olivia.
It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you, JJ, for having me.
Of course. So let's start off with your story. I know we talked recently one on one and I learned a little bit more about you, but I wanted to leave it for the show to make it truly authentic and in the moment. And yeah, so tell us about, you know, all about you. Go back to the origin
Yeah.
story and get yourself to California and then to what you're doing now.
Yeah. So the story would start from, so I was born and raised in China till high school. Then I went to Singapore for college, and my major was accounting and finance. So that's what I did for 15 years as an accountant, financial controller for the last 15 years. And on the outside, I looked successful and I had everything. But deep inside, I was miserable. I was suffering because I just did not love what I was doing. I was not passionate about it. I did not feel any fulfillment from that career. But I just feel so stuck because that's all I knew. I thought that that's the only thing I could do in life. Until 2022, that was the year really changed my life because I lost my mom to pancreatic cancer within 3 months. And that huge loss really made me to reevaluate what really matters to me because I was chasing after the job title, the possessions, the looks, and in the end, I saw from my mom that it just did not matter at all. So at that moment, I made a really scary decision. I quit my 15-year accounting career. I went back to school for holistic nutrition and I trained in functional lab testing. So I heal my own gut issues, and now I'm helping other people to do the same. So that's what's driving my passion because of that huge loss. Yeah.
Yeah, that's enough to look at life differently and say what really matters and is
Yeah.
what I'm doing and a time to be honest with yourself. And I would imagine in your culture too. I mean, I know I have a couple of Asian friends, one that was Korean and Japanese and Vietnamese, and I've noticed that there is definitely a cultural expectation for success. Yes?
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. So you can either be yeah, in Asian cultures, right? You can either be a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, or accountant. So that's exactly what my family chose for me, because back then I did not know what I wanted in life. So it's pretty much my family would tell me what to do. Oh, you go to that school, you choose that major, it's all planned. Life was planned for me, and I was okay with it because I didn't know what I wanted. I did not put any time to grow myself, so I was okay with all those arrangements, and it felt quite okay because everyone's like, "Oh, you did really well, in life." I was proud in a sense because I met their expectation, but recent years is just a lot of life challenges really made me to look at everything in from a very different angle to be like, is that the life that I wanted, or do I want to do something else?
So did the your gut issues start before your mother passed or after?
It's actually after it got a lot worse because of all those grief and stress and not be able to have time to care for myself because as a caregiver, like my 24 hours was for my mom. So that period of time really made my health condition a lot worse. And I really started to feel on daily basis, I was struggling with a lot of bloating, a lot of stomach pain. So I stopped socializing. I stopped traveling because of that reason, because it was just so uncomfortable. It was affecting my daily life. And I was very fortunate that at that time I went back to school. I learned all the tools, and I was trained in clinical training so that I was able to order testing for myself and had a much deeper dive of, and I create a very personalized protocol for myself so that I was able to try everything out before I'm starting to help other people. That's the reason I was very confident about my approach because I have gone through everything on myself. I've tested on myself. I was my own lab rat.
I get it. Everything
Yeah.
I've created has been because of that also, because
Yeah.
I've gone through something and
Yeah.
see what works or doesn't work or how to do it differently and help other people
Hmm.
with some of the same things that I was struggling with. So let's talk about some of those lab tests that you started for yourself.
Hmm.
Obviously the people that are local or here in Southern California, Ventura County business, and probably even all over the world, there's a certain amount of help you can give anybody, correct?
Right. All over the states, some international countries as well, depending on if the testing is available in that country, but mostly states.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the markers, some of the biomarkers that were important to diagnose or uncover some of the issues that you had.
So I would start with stool testing. It's called GI map, and another testing is called MRT 176. It's a blood test for food sensitivity. So in that testing, we test 176 different type of food and chemicals to see how your body is responding to those food, and so how much, basically to look at how much inflammation of those food and chemicals is creating in your body. So for the combining with those two testings, I'm able to first of all remove all the blocking factors because we have to know what is causing the sensitivities, what is causing the inflammation. So I remove those food, and then based on the stool testing, I'm able to see a lot of things. For example, how severe is your gut inflammation? Maybe you have bad bacteria, certain bad bacteria that's causing the inflammation, that's causing all the stomach pain, bloating. Maybe so for those bad bugs, I will give people like eradication agents to remove them. And from the stool testing, I would also see if you have enough beneficial bacteria or not. So I'm trying to help people to achieve that balance because it's not good to have too much bad ones and too little good ones. So I'm trying to rebalance their microbiome. Um, of course, the foundation is always food. So with nutrition and lifestyle changes, with targeted supplements, I'm able to achieve a result that people have a lot more good bacteria, eradicate the bad ones, and reduce the gut inflammation, and also support digestion because as we age, we naturally have less and less stomach acid, for example. But stomach acid is so important for us. It's critical for protein digestion. So when I look back, I know that when I was having all those bloating, indigestion symptoms, a big reason was because my stomach acid started to get really low, which I can see from the test results. Yeah, that's just part of it. So um it's telling me a lot of things. And I don't guess. I test because I don't guess based on symptoms, um it's like throwing darts in the dark, right? And you just can't hit it 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually in medicine, people really appreciate and understand that analogy. I'm trying to figure out how to do that with emotions because for me, like it's the emotional core wounds, the map is sort of the
Yeah.
diagnosis. So like for
Mm,
me
mm, mm,
emotionally,
mm.
how to help somebody move through traumas and limiting beliefs and upper limits and fears, you'll need to have the test. And for me, the test is the map. Once you get the map, you know
Right.
what you're
Right.
treating versus you're just not open-ended talking about whatever's going on. So now I have a lot of
Right.
experience with nutrition and with some of the things that you're talking about. I'm guessing that you
Hmm.
also are doing the zonulin addition on the GI map test to see
It,
somebody's permeability and their cell and their walls and make
yes.
sure they don't have leaky gut.
Yes,
right?
it can be added, but I would say most people nowadays, right, they have leaky gut just because our food environment is very toxic. It's so hard to have like a perfectly balanced gut microbiome, unless you're like born vaginally, you've been breastfed for 2 years, unless you've never taken antibiotics, never taken drugs, you never eat processed foods, unless you meet all those conditions, you might have a perfectly balanced microbiome, but just it's just impossible for us. So I will say most people have leaky gut, and it only will get worse because if you don't heal your gut lining, it's the undigested food or toxins would leak through your gut lining into your bloodstream and go into the rest part of your body. That's why people have like brain fogs, low energy, acne. It's not just about gut symptoms. It's affecting every part of your body. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever ask for the CRP blood work to be done to look at general
Yes.
inflammation in the whole body?
So I just finished my training on functional lab testing on blood chemistry. So now I'm able to order a blood panel, which I look at over 80 markers to assess um, multiple different organ system, including the CRP you were talking about. That's one marker that I'm looking at. And also I look at another thing, sounds similar, but it's called sensitivity CRP, HSCRP, which is a very specific marker for cardiac risk, disease risk. So that's something else that I do. Because some people come to me, they're like, oh, I don't feel any gut symptoms. Can you still help me? I would say, of course, because there's always blood panels for you to look at different markers to see at a preventative stage to be like where I can work on right now instead of wait until there are like serious health issues happen in the future. Because some markers can indicate trends and patterns sometimes 10 to 20 years earlier than a diagnosis ever happens. So you don't want to wait for 20 years to
Right.
get a surprise diagnosis. And then to me, it's like it's too late. And that's exactly what I saw from my mom's health journey because she ignored so many signals for decades. And in the end, she got that surprise,
Right.
and yeah, I just don't want anyone to experience that because I know I have tools to help with people at a much earlier stage.
Well, I think
Yeah.
it's what 95 or 97% of disease in this country is chronic disease caused by lifestyle. So we're not
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about we can get out ahead of a lot of it, for sure. And that's actually really true for your hormones as well. Like if you just do your normal panel at your doctor and they do TSH, it's not enough. You need your
right.
T2, your T3, and your T4
Exactly,
before
exactly,
because you could have a thyroid problem for years and it won't be uncovered on a TSH
exactly. Yeah.
because of the range. Do you look at A1C also, which is your
Oh,
blood
absolutely.
sugar for okay,
Blood sugar is like a foundational piece in my practice. Also, thyroid panels, including all those markers that you're saying that usually conventional doctor only look at TSH.
right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's not enough of a picture to kind of look into figure out if there's a trend or pattern because you want to prevent, you don't want to wait.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning how if someone says, I don't know if I have, digestive issues.
Hmm,
Don't you
hmm,
think, so I've, as a personal trainer for 25 years and someone who
hmm,
still has a lot of, like my Date Your Body program still deals with people who are wanting to release weight and heal and I go over some of this stuff as well, but I don't do it as deeply as you do
hmm.
because there's a lot of other like emotional components that we're dealing with that we're talking
Right.
about. But for in the past, when I was a trainer and I would remove gluten and dairy from most people's diet and do an elimination diet, they would not know the symptoms that they had because they were so
Hmm,
used
hmm,
to it was considered normal. Like bloating
hmm,
was
hmm,
normal,
hmm.
constipation was normal,
Mm, mm, mm,
diarrhea
mm,
was
mm, mm,
normal,
mm.
gas was
Right,
normal,
right.
belching and burping was normal, farting was normal, right? But when you reduce all of that agitation and take it away, and all of a sudden someone experiences something different that they've never experienced before, and then I would have them do at least 2 weeks, but optimally 4 weeks of some kind of elimination. And then if they added something back in, they would immediately notice the response
Hmm.
that that food would create in their bodies. I think a lot of people don't know they have gut issues because they've been living with the symptoms for so long.
Yeah, some people just think it's norm to feel miserable all day long, right? They think that's the way it is. But once we were able to like show them how it feels to be healthy, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, I will try everything I can to keep it that way because it feels good. I have energy. I don't have acne. Like I don't have brain fog. I have energy throughout the day. It's just such a better way to live your life, to live with such energy, confidence, and joy. It's a better living.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
your gut also is the baseline for 70% or more of your immunity.
Immune system.
So if your
Hmm.
immune system,
Hmm.
if you have a low immune system, you have gut
Hmm.
issues. And that's going to
Right.
be the best way to fix it is to look at your gut issues, even if you don't think you have a problem, because as Olivia said, you've got that balance of in your microbiome of your gut flora, and you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
The GI map test is a great test, and it's inexpensive compared to some other tests out there that are not necessarily that are like Zoom. What is Gut Zoomer. I haven't done it
Uh-huh,
yet,
uh-huh.
but it's one of those I'm like, maybe in the future I'll do Gut Zoomer because I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
But GI
Yeah.
Map has been, I've talked about on my other shows, GI
Yeah.
Map a million times. Other experts coming on to talk about, and GI Map always gets mentioned. It's a great test.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
taken it and I'll probably take it again next year because I want to see where I am. So
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
are some of the common ailments and conditions that you have been able to help people move through?
Well, from the simple symptoms like, gas bloating, that's what I had because I was just starting to experience those symptoms. So I was not a severe case. To like severe cases, like I was helping a client who has suffered from celiac disease and inflammatory bowel disease for over 30 years. And she was miserable. She was having diarrhea 5 to 6 times a day and she was underweight, malnourished, and exhausted and isolated because she could not go out to socialize or travel. She stopped all that. And she was very scared to eat because everything make her feel sick and food became her enemy. So that was one of the most serious case that I had. And after the testing, I built something very customized for her based on her test results, based on her biology and medical history. And I'm not sugarcoating this. Like for the first few weeks, it was really tough. Healing isn't instant, but just little by little, her body started to respond, and her bathroom trips reduced to just twice a day. And I always joke to people, like I always talk about poops, and it's not a big deal. Um, and then she started to gain muscle at age of like she was in her 60s, so it's so hard, right? But then she started to gain muscle, she started to have energy back, she started to uh, her brain fog was lifted, and she went back to traveling, she went back to hiking. Sometimes I bump into her on hikes, I'm like, good to see you. And when she started, she was like so desperate, and she told me, I just want 50% better. And in the end, I asked her, how would you rate your experience? And she said, I had like 100% turnaround because I did not expect this. Not just her gut healed, her ADHD symptoms healed as well. And because she was gut brain axis, when her gut was such a mess, her brain was such a mess, she could not focus, she could not sit down. But now she can sit and just read a book, and that never happened. So she was thrilled that she had all those very good experience out of it, and she's still maintaining it after 6 months now. I still talk to her sometimes. She's surprised that she's still feeling very healthy.
This is an important thing to mention about ADD and ADHD because many
Mm-hmm.
people who are out there think that this is a disorder versus a
Mm,
response to a gut issue or other inflammatory injuries or things within the body, right? So if you or your child has ADD or ADHD, your gut needs to be a place that you focus
Yeah.
on. And Olivia can absolutely help you with that because if you feel uncomfortable giving your children or taking meds for these things, I agree with you. So find
Yeah.
a better way to fix the problem versus medicate a situation that's just a symptom, not a root cause.
Yeah, exactly. Root cause approach is so important. And in functional medicine, gut is the healing priority. We always go from there because it's such a foundational piece. It's like, if you want to like renovate your house, right? Or you keep painting it. Okay, it looks beautiful, but what if your foundation is cracked? That's like your gut, right? If you don't fix that, down the road, your house will crumble into pieces. Yeah.
100%. It's really important, and I hope that whether you who is listening to this or someone you know or love, if they need this, please share this episode with them because not everyone has access to or knows who to. And some people, you go to your doctor, your regular general practitioner, and the likelihood is that they're probably not really on board with this. The only doctors that really do this sort of extensive testing, besides practitioners like Olivia, would be a functional medicine or integrative doctor. But at the
Hmm.
same time, they're not, they're physicians. They're not they may not be giving you the same amount of time, attention, and curated, personalized planning that
Yeah.
Olivia can. Because even with my doctor, who I love very much, he'll give me the test and we'll talk about some stuff. But I ultimately am the one making the plan. But I also have a ton of experience and background in this. If you don't and you don't understand how to substitute certain things and to play with foods in different ways and to really, when I first started, I did the ALCAT test back in
Mm.
2009, which is a
Mm.
blood test that shows food sensitivities. And
Right,
I
right.
don't know how good I think it is anymore, but back then it was my first time doing any kind of blood testing for food sensitivities before we got into the stool. And there are some things on there that obviously were shocking and surprising. And I started because of that test. And I've done a bunch of different tests. And every time I take a test, what I love about it, whether I think it works or not. So sometimes some of them don't actually, I like
Hmm.
Viome, I think is shit. Don't do Viome.
I've
And
done that before.
yeah, don't do
Yeah.
Viome. But here's what's cool. Your body does need a bunch of different nutrients and bacterias and exposure to variations. When we eat the same thing over and over again, we're not getting all of the nutrients that we need. We're not getting all the probiotics that we need and the prebiotics. We're not getting all of the nutrition from the same foods over and over again. So what has been helpful and was cool is that when I've done all these different tests, they have led me to change my something. So when I
Hmm.
went
Hmm.
dairy free and gluten free, I am big on not restriction, but replacement. So I go into the world and I never have an issue because I don't look at it like restriction. I look at it as here's an opportunity. I also cook and bake. Here's an opportunity
Hmm.
to create something that is either whatever, gluten-free, dairy-free, grain-free, low carb, whatever it is. It's something that I want, that I don't want, that I want to enjoy, but that I can make it in a way that my body will appreciate and break down more easily and won't cause inflammation and irritation. And so if you
Hmm.
take that point of view when you're getting into looking at your gut and changing your diet, for anyone who's listening, I'm sure that you do this, but it has led me to foods and to things I never would have tried otherwise. It started me, I think Alcat said that I was sensitive, highly sensitive to oregano. Well, oregano's in every single tomato sauce. So what did I do?
Mm.
I started making my own tomato sauce. And
Mm.
now there's one jar that I'll buy, but otherwise I only make my homemade, grow my tomatoes and make my own homemade sauce, which I've been doing for years and I love it. Or I buy this one jar that in case of if I'm in a pinch and I don't have any left over. So, but that has led to healthier habits over time with
Right.
many different things. And so even just shaking up your food plan, shaking up your diet, learning how to cook and make things. I invite everyone, if you haven't done it, like start exploring, take the tests, see where you are, and then
Yeah.
look forward to changing up what you're doing.
Yeah. I can like totally relate to that. Go back to Alcat, because I wanna have a comment on that. 'Cause, Alcat is actually like an ancestor test for before MRT 176. So, but this testing is more advanced now, of course. My experience with MRT testing was phenomenal because I used to wake up in the morning with a headache for months, and I did not know why is my body reacting that way because I was already eating very clean, everything organic, just don't get it. So I did my MRT food sensitivity testing, and it was showing me a few of the food I was highly sensitive to, but I was eating that every day, which including apple, avocado, broccoli, cauliflower. I love them so much, but I was so surprised looking at my results. But I'm like, okay, I need to remove them temporarily while I'm doing my gut healing work. And I did that. And within a week, my headache was totally gone. So that's where I knew it totally works for me.
Well, and
Yeah.
you bring up a good point.
Mm-hmm.
We had a patient client years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
can't say patient, I can say
Mm-hmm.
client, but he
Clients.
was a part of, well, because he was a part of the medical nourishing wellness medical center that I was a
Mm-hmm.
part of. So he was their patient. But he was my
Mm-hmm.
client, and I remember when he came, it was for weight loss, and he thought he was an emotional eater. This is a really important story for everyone to hear. He thought he was an emotional eater. He was in therapy. He was in Overeaters Anonymous group. He was in like
Mm-hmm.
four different programs for being an emotional eater. And when he came to me, he'd seen Dr. Allen, seen Jeannie, came to me. And I said, well, did Jeannie give you the food sensitivity test? And he said, no. And I said, well, you march back in there and you tell her to get you the food sensitivity test. And wouldn't you know, the diet foods he was eating, popcorn, yogurt, whey protein shakes, were all agitating him.
Mm-hmm.
Within
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks of removing those, he lost 16 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't having any cravings anymore. What people don't
Mm-hmm.
realize about food and hunger and cravings is that when you have a high level of inflammation, your body craves the things that cause the inflammation.
Definitely.
Food, right? And but people
Yeah.
think, "Oh, I'm an emotional eater because I'm craving this food." Like it
Right.
starts this fire going and it just
Yeah.
wants more and more and more. But once you remove those things, when I gave up gluten back in 2008, I remember this experience of driving past like a pizza shop and smelling the pizza. And prior to giving up gluten, my mouth would salivate
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it was craving this food that my body was smelling. And I remember driving past the pizza place and the inflammation had been now out of my system for at least a month. And I smelled it. I could acknowledge that it smelled good, but I did not salivate. My body's
Yeah.
response to it was very, very different. So when people think they have food cravings, like, oh, my body really wants that. Well, that also could be something you're really sensitive to and highly,
Yeah.
highly sensitive
Yeah.
to.
That could be a factor. I definitely had experienced that because I always had like sugar craving. I just call myself, oh, I love sugars. Like, I'm addicted to sugars. But after I was done with my gut healing work, after I eradicate those bad bugs that craved for sugar, I had no sugar craving anymore. I could like just sit in a restaurant, have a good meal, and then not order a dessert, which is like impossible for me in the past. I had to order a dessert. It's like it's like your body is trying to sending you messages of being like signaling you, I crave for sugar because the bad bugs in my gut crave for sugar. But most people don't understand that connection and they don't know the messages, so they just feel like, blaming on themselves or not having the willpower. But it's not that. It's just our body is trying to send you messages. So we have to learn how to recognize that and then do something about it. Um, and also, like, I want to comment on the MRT results, right? So my approach is not trying to restrict, like you were saying, it's not a restrict diet. So we removed those food that you're sensitive to for a while you heal your gut. And then once you're done with the healing work, we can bring those things back one by one and see how you respond, right? So I just think life is not about restriction. We should be able to enjoy in our life with eating good food. That's how I feel about my approach. It's not a restriction diet if
Right.
if you people think about it. Yeah.
Well, and I'm a little more hardcore probably than you are,
Mm-hmm.
because I do believe that there are certain foods that people should never eat again, or
Mm-hmm.
there's
Mm-hmm.
no nutritional value in it. Gluten's one of them, and so is corn. I had a client when I was personal training, and she was Latina, and I told her to get rid of corn. And she got rid of corn for a little while, but she's Latina. So, of course, she's like, it's
Mm-hmm.
part of my staple. So she just replaced it with organic corn because she
Mm-hmm.
used to have migraines. And when she got rid of all of the GMO, non-organic corn and replaced it with organic, she stopped having migraines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, it's stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like you may not know what, of course, people that are still drinking diet sodas and things like, please don't drink diet sodas. Those are going to cause
I know.
migraines and
Of
blood
course.
sugar spikes and bad gut bacteria. Bad, bad.
Absolutely. I mean, when I'm talking about food restriction, it's like there are things that just we don't touch it. Like highly processed food. I'm very big on food quality.
Yes.
Yeah. So when we eat all organic food, when we know what we're sensitive to and not to touch it, your body will thank you.
Right, absolutely. And your taste buds will change also. Your taste buds will change as you start to feel healthier. Like you said, you're feeding the good bacteria, not the bad bacteria. And so now your sugar cravings go away, or in general, your cravings go away. That was why I wanted to tell that story about that patient slash client who removed basically dairy and corn from his diet because he was eating quote unquote diet foods, and they were
Hmm.
really causing him to burn that fire of inflammation and crave more and more things, which then led him to emotionally identify himself as an emotional eater. And once he
Yeah.
lost 16 pounds and no longer had any food cravings, he went, oh, I'm not an emotional eater. Like, and
Yeah.
right, it wasn't necessarily the emotions. Like, so in my like invisible fitness formula, the first three steps are looking at your diet, your exercise, and then your hormones, and then making sure if those three things are in balance, then we work on the emotions. We're going to work on the emotions after we put the body back in balance because some of these
Hmm. Hmm.
signals may be telling you one thing. You may just assume, like you said, sugar craving. Oh, I'm a sugar addict. Or I have gut flora that's out of balance, which is why my
Right.
body is craving this. So if
Yeah.
you want to get the physical stuff handled, so you can see what your body in balance looks and feels like because it's going to act differently. You're going to be less
Hmm.
hungry, you're going to have less cravings, you're going to get fuller faster, you're going to enjoy your food differently, and then all the other symptoms that you have will probably start to disappear. And of course, when you have somebody working with you, they're going to help monitor along the way. And I love like finding new diet variations for things. I made a for Thanksgiving, I did a grain-free apple pie because I was kind of craving apple pie, and it performed okay. I didn't
Yeah.
love some of the recipe part of it. And I always sort of swap out when I can on any dessert, monk fruit and allulose instead of sugar. Maybe just like a little bit of sugar or a little bit of honey for some flavor, but most people don't know. And it's a lot healthier for you because it doesn't have
Yes.
any sugar in it, but it still tastes sweet. So like, oh, this is really good. I'm like, I'm not going
Yeah.
to tell you that it's sugar free because you taste sweet and it's better for you. But it's learning how to work with things just to enjoy. I believe in enjoying your food also,
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
but making sure that it's a conscious choice of what you're putting in your body that is the best quality, best form, and the balance of I can have my cake and eat it too, but wouldn't it be better to have the cake taste really great but be low inflammatory? Have it be, like people won't
Yeah.
even know. If you make a really amazing paleo cake, do they even know? They just like, this tastes really good. It's food.
Yeah. Yeah. Because sometimes people come to me like, when I give them a meal plan, they're like, oh my gosh, I have to restrict to all this. And I'm like, food can be delicious and fun and healthy, but we just have to be conscious of our choices. I mean, I still choose to eat dark chocolate because that's just my obsession, I would say. But I always choose the organic version, the higher percentage of cacao, so that's better for you. And yeah, it doesn't mean that I just get rid of everything. No, that's not fun. And I also love to try various food, just like you said, you were bringing like new food into your diet. And I'm doing the same thing. Like whenever I go to farmers market, if I see something that I have not eaten before, I'm like, yeah, let's get that. Let's try that. And one time I remember I wrote down everything I've eaten for a whole day. I just want to see how many things I've eaten for a whole day. And do you want to guess the number?
17.
65.
Whoa.
Yeah, including spices, of course. So yeah, so like every meal is there's like 5 to 10 different vegetable and different oils, different nuts, different spices. It was just so much fun to do that and to see, oh, okay, I'm talking the talk and walking the walk, right? Like, yeah, because I want to inspire people to make things fun for them as well. It's not anything restrictive. It can be fun.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Just explore the world of food. There's so much out there. So,
Yes.
um, so what else would you say to anyone who's listening? So obviously you are available to work with anyone remotely. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as
Correct.
well as in person. So if somebody in Ventura County businesswomen wanted to work with you, is that still remote or do you like meet with somebody?
I actually prefer meeting people in person because I really love to feel their energy. That's just who I am. And yeah, if anyone wants to see me in person, I have a home office in Thousand Oaks. But, if you want to see me online, I can do that easily as well. But if you come to my home office, I have a new kitten at home. He's 5 months old, just so
Kitty!
you know.